Hi everybody, these are the headlines today. Coronavirus, North East lockdown sees 10 PM curfew for bars and pubs and ban on household mixing. Apparently the gist of the problem is, according to Matt Hancock, that this week the number of patients on mechanical ventilator beds has risen above 100 for the first time since July. Okay. And there's been 3,991 new cases recorded yesterday, because apparently they've upped testing, but apparently nobody can get these tests. Apparently the government has spent 100 billion, 2/3 of the NHS budget on testing people for coronavirus. Because according to this government, coronavirus means COVID-19, SARS-CoV-2. I will leave you the link to the government bill, the coronavirus bill, and you can read it very clearly. According to the law now, as decreed by Parliament under control of Boris Johnson, coronavirus now means COVID-19. I will leave you the link and I'll direct you to the exact point where it says that in the bill. Coronavirus means COVID-19, when actually coronavirus can mean COVID-19, yes, which is a new strain of coronavirus. It can also mean a host of other coronavirus infections, anything from the common cold to other strains of flu. So you're testing positive for a coronavirus, it is assumed that you have COVID-19. That is what is going on, because that is the law. Okay, so when they're saying they've confirmed 3,991 new cases, well, first of all, there's the false positives that we know are happening. And also there's the fact that the majority of those cases could just be people who are fighting off a common cold or a coronavirus flu, strain of flu. And, oh, isn't it strange? The deaths have dropped, you know, fatalities have gone right down. Cases are up. The majority of people who are testing are asymptomatic. They're not showing any symptoms because, you know, human beings, they're basically being judged guilty for being a human being and having a functioning immune system that is fighting off a pathogen. So, no, they're not showing any symptoms because their body is successfully fighting it off. Oh, but apparently they're still infectious, which we've got absolutely no evidence to support the idea that asymptomatic people can spread the virus. There is no evidence to support that. None whatsoever. We've heard people going on about typhoid Marys. Well, I'm sorry, typhoid is a deadly bacteria. It is quite different from the way a virus spreads. Okay, we all carry these viruses all the time. Our bodies are fighting off any number of pathogens all of the time. If you go and test the whole of the public, you will find that the vast majority of us at any given time will show antibodies to a coronavirus. That's the fact. This is a fact, people. There has been nothing like the deaths that were predicted. Lockdown has killed people. We only have to look at Sweden, that didn't have a lockdown. But now, apparently, the number of patients in mechanical ventilator beds has risen above 100 for the first time since July. Well, we must be having a pretty good year then, is all I can say. Because, look, this is NHS from 2017 to 2019. It's about the national tariff payment system. It's about providing funds to the NHS. And so they have to give a breakdown of what it is they provide each year. Okay? Follow the money, people. So, you know, you get down to page 40, page 41. And what do we find on page 41? This is prevention of ventilator-associated pneumonia in critically ill patients, because people who are very ill get put on mechanical ventilators after operations, and actually those ventilators can actually give people pneumonia. And that's why, you know, a whole heap of medics have come forward and said these ventilators, mechanical ventilators, should not be used for any SARS condition, except as a very last resort, that what they need is therapeutic oxygen, not ventilator, a pipe shoved down your throat. So, ventilator-associated pneumonia is defined as pneumonia that occurs 48 to 72 hours or thereafter following endotracheal intubation, characterised by the presence of a new or progressive infiltrate, signs of systemic infection, fever, altered white blood cells count, changes in sputum characteristics, and detection of a causative agent. Approximately 100,000 patients are admitted for ventilation in critical care units in the UK each year. The risk for patients is highest during early ICU stay, when it is estimated to be 3% per day during days of 1 to 5 ventilation, 2% per day during days 5 to 10 of ventilation, and 1% thereafter. This is the number of people that contract pneumonia while they're on mechanical ventilators. So 100,000 people in Britain every year are on these mechanical ventilators. So you look at Tyneside, the whole of the northeast, and there's 100 people in hospital on mechanical ventilators, and that is enough to lock down of the whole of the northeast, when, according to these figures, there should have been, 100 patients virtually every month. If anything, the figures are low then, aren't they? If there's only 100 people since July, we're now in September, since July there's only 100 people on ventilators, on mechanical ventilators. Now, you notice that Matt Hancock here, he hasn't stated that the number of people who are on mechanical ventilators have all got COVID-19, has he? He's telling us the case numbers are rising and there's 100 patients on ventilators. So obviously, therefore, we must assume that, they're on these ventilators because they've got COVID-19. Or have they got another strain of flu? Or have they got some underlying health illness? Have they had a major operation? None of that is made clear. And this is the kind of shoddy news reporting that you get from Sky News. Why are you funding Sky News, people? Turn them off. Everybody's turning off Netflix at the moment, and so they should, of that disgusting film, Cuties. Absolutely ridiculous and evil, actually, considering the horrors that the children of this world are facing today. And here we are, Sky News, the BBC, the lot, all of them, all going on about, how Boris Johnson has killed people by not having a lockdown soon enough. Boris Johnson has killed people, yes, with the lockdown. And so have you, media, with your lies, your fear-mongering, your propaganda. You're supposed to be an independent, free media to inform the British public so that we don't get attacked by an evil, tyrannical government that's orchestrated a coup against our nation, the people of our nation. A 100. This is the whole of Tyneside. Northumberland, North and South Tyneside, Newcastle upon Tyne, Gateshead, Sunderland and County Durham. Because there's 100 people on mechanical ventilators. When we're just being told here, from 2017, each year there's 100,000 patients on these mechanical ventilators. But we're supposed to all suddenly, you're not allowed out after 10 p.m. There's 100 people. Look, please wake up, people, because I'm going to leave the video link to my last video, which is covering these vaccines, and it's really serious. I've written to my council, I've written to my GP surgery, right, because this just cannot be allowed. What they are pushing forward with, it is looking very, very suspicious that they want to vaccinate people with an experimental gene editing. We're talking about gene editing, experimental, brand new biotechnology that is going to be injected into our bodies. Experimental. The government, I've read the papers, okay, the government is talking about rolling out an unlicensed product. The authority that issues the licence is being asked, has agreed to authorise this vaccine to be used on the public, on the whole of the population, by force, mandatory, okay, by force, with no licence. So it's an unauthorised, unlicensed vaccine because we're dealing with a deadly pandemic. So we've got to roll out this unlicensed vaccine. And who's going to be delivering the vaccines? Who's going to be injecting us? Health professionals? No, they're going to recruit from the general public. They're going to recruit people, give them a quick training course, and bang, next minute they're going to be injecting this experimental biotechnology into our arms, into our children. Or it might come as the form of a treatment, you know, like some kind of gel or something that you... Either way, it's been proven the treatments and the vaccines using this DNA altering stuff have proven deadly, with far more risks than opposed by COVID-19. And according to the law, you know, the cure cannot be worse than the disease itself. The cure cannot impose a greater risk of damage than the disease itself, because then that isn't a treatment, is it? It's actually an assault. It's actually exploiting the fact that there's an illness there in order to damage people and experiment on them. And we do need to stand up and say no. And I know it's hard for people. It's hard for me. It's been very hard for us to realise the levels of evil that we are dealing with right now. But I'm afraid we're just going to have to face it. We're just going to have to face it. Now, when we know for a fact that 100,000 patients are admitted for mechanical ventilation in the UK each year, right, that's without COVID-19. And we're getting news stories like this from a news provider, all of them, none of them have got the wherewithal to go and do a bit of research and challenge the government, because that's what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be challenging, they're supposed to be giving news for us, but they've not. They've turned into a propaganda machine. Please, please inform people, because where all this is leading is to vaccination passports and everybody being forced to have an experimental, unlicensed vaccine to be delivered by people they've recruited from among the general public. You know, all the people that have no jobs now. Here, come on, jobs. We've taken 100 billion off the NHS in order to do these defunct tests that are not testing specifically for COVID-19. The tests are not testing specifically for COVID-19. They are testing for coronavirus. And just because this government comes forward and says, puts in its bill, oh, coronavirus now means COVID-19. Well, I'm sorry. That will not stand, Boris Johnson, PM. It will not stand, because coronavirus does not mean COVID-19. Coronavirus means a common cold. Multiple other strains of flu, among which COVID-19 is the latest addition. So this whole thing is on a very dodgy, unstable premise. And now they're talking about, 100. The number of patients in mechanical ventilator beds has risen above 100 for the first time since July. Really? Really? Since the first time since July? What, the whole of the North East? When there's 100,000 people a year, on average, on those beds. Well, the figures are low then for this year, aren't they? July, August, September, we're in the middle of September. There should have been 100 a month, really, shouldn't there? According to the national statistics, on average. You know, I've just given you them from 17, you know, this is from 2017 to 2019. Approximately 100,000 patients are admitted for ventilation. And now they're using this now. They're hyping up the fear, and they're talking about using martial law, you know, the military to help with the vaccinations. The military to help us along. Come on, people. You're resisting. Don't worry, we've got the military here. The military will come and grab you out of your home and force you to have these injections. These experimental, unlicensed vaccines. This is called ramping up the fear. This is called ramping up the fear. We do not know that the 3,991 cases are all COVID-19. We know that they're a coronavirus at most. And possibly a quarter, if not half of them, could be false positives. Well, it's up to you, people. I am disgusted that it's down to people like myself, people like Carl Vernon, people like David Yates, to be telling people the truth, average, ordinary British citizens, that it's us that have to do the research. It's us that have to share this information. Because apparently the BBC, Sky News, the rest of them, with all their millions and billions that they're sucking in out of the public every year, they haven't got the wherewithal to do a bit of research and to challenge what is going on. Instead, this media have supported lockdowns, promoted the vaccines, everything, all along. And they will be promoting this vaccine like crazy. And they won't be doing the research for that either. Well, I tell you now, I've shared some research under that video I've just done on vaccines. And as I say, I'll leave the link to it under this. Watch it, share it. We've got one day, you've got till tomorrow, midnight tomorrow, to respond to that government paper. And I've left the link under it. You get on and do it, people. Because I tell you now, they're pulling a fast one on us here. And I don't like where this is going. I am very, very suspicious. And and it's what is known as lawful suspicion. Because it is evidence. There's evidence to support this lawful suspicion. And you know, lawful suspicion is enough for arrest, police arrest and investigation. And I do think that there does need to be an investigation into this whole coronavirus scamdemic now. Because that's what people are calling it. Plandemic, scamdemic. Because what's coming out of the government and media mouths is not matching up to the facts. The facts are knocking them down. And you're telling me that because there's 100 people on using mechanical ventilators, the whole of the northeast has got to be suddenly locked down. I'm sorry, people. Stand up for your rights. Stand by facts, not fiction. Okay? Stand by the facts. I send my love and God bless to everybody.